Zoning Appeals. I note that we have a quorum, 4 members present. That is all of the members currently on the board, right?
That is correct.
First item will be to consider the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any comments, changes, or would anyone like to make a motion regarding the minutes?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written or as published.
You second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, there is no old business, correct?
Correct.
And the new business for today is consideration of case 2025-15 BZA regarding 771 Ottawa Street. The applicant is seeking a variance from section 4.04 of the adopted development regulations to allow an accessory dwelling unit to be occupied without the owner occupying the principal dwelling. Is there a staff report?
Yes. So, thank you. Yeah, like you said, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow an ADU at 771 Ottawa where he will not reside in either one of the principal dwelling or the ADU. So the property is zoned R16 and is currently functioning as a residential homestay, in other words, an Airbnb, with an existing detached building in the rear yard. The owner intends to use the detached building as an ADU, which he will rent. So section 4.04 of the adopted development regulations states that ADUs may be approved by a special use permit in any residential zoning district subject to the following conditions. Shall be compatible with the design of the principal dwelling unit, shall respect the general building scale and placement of structures to allow sharing of common space on the lot, such as driveways and yards, shall not have a separate driveway entrance from the streets, shall be 900 square feet or smaller in size. Number 5, which is what the variance is for, either the principal dwelling unit or the accessory dwelling unit must be occupied by the owner of the premises. Number 6, shall meet all building code requirements for a single family dwelling unit. And 7, lots containing accessory dwelling units shall contain a minimum of 2 off-street parking spaces exclusive of garage space. So, in November 2022, a special use permit was issued to allow the principal dwelling to function as, like I said, an Airbnb. If this variance is requested, the applicant intends to continue operating the Airbnb and then also rent out the detached building in the rear. Here is... So this is the ADU. This is the, or what he wants to be an ADU. This is that detached structure right there.
And that's 200 square feet?
280?
280 square foot.
280.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, but then I'll explain. So per section 5.02 of the development regulations, off-street parking requirement rate is 2 per each dwelling unit. So it'd be 2 for the primary Airbnb structure and then 2 for the ADU, which is a total of 4. I did speak with the property owner last Friday, and he did agree to, let's see if I can pull this up. So in the front, there is parking right here. So this gravel is existing non-conforming gravel driveway coming off of Ottawa Street. Up to this right here, this is a fence right here. So he can keep this, and that would accommodate 2 vehicles for the Airbnb. So for the primary dwelling right here. And he has agreed to go ahead and install a gravel driveway directly off the rear alley to accommodate 2 vehicles for the ADU. So we have established that. Plus the park requirement is, one of the conditions for the special use permit. So if you guys do approve the ADU, the park requirement is, like I said, would be a condition for the special use permit. So according to the submitted application, the detached accessory structure was converted to a single-family unit prior to the applicant purchasing the property in August 2021. And then sometime after November 2022, the applicant renovated the detached accessory structure. The city has no record of the conversion or the renovations that were done. Since building permits were not issued, staff is unaware if the renovations in the detached accessory structure meet building codes. And a little history of ADU applications that we reviewed previously is there was one SUP that was issued for an ADU in 2024. And that ADU was an existing non-conforming detached structure located at 303 Esplanade, I believe. And as ADUs were not specifically addressed in development regulations at that time, that's why that, I'm sorry, I've got to tick my throat. That time of construction of the detached structure. So again, it was existing non-conforming structure, and the property owners came in and to bring everything up to compliance so that they can rent it out, they did get a special use permit. And then in 2021, a military gentleman applied for a variance, which is like what we're doing today, submitted a variance application to allow for an ADU at a property that he owned, in which, again, he would not be living in the primary dwelling unit or the ADU, and that was denied by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
That was until 2021.
That was in 2021. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So again, we don't have to do the parking requirement. And like I said, additionally, if you guys do approve it, this would have to go through the Planning Commission and the City Commission for a special use permit. And then kind of staff's comments on the 5 conditions or criteria that you guys will be voting on. So the first one is that a variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. So staff does disagree with this. The property is located in R16 zoning district and is occupied by a single family dwelling unit with an existing detached accessory structure. The lot is 48 feet and the lot size is 6,000 square feet, which all that meets the development standards. The property is surrounded by single-family homes with the exception of existing non-conforming duplexes to the north. In November 2022, the applicant applied for and was issued a special use permit to allow for the operation of Airbnb in the principal dwelling. When operating an Airbnb in a residential neighborhood, the development regulations do not allow an accessory structure located on the same lot to be rented as well. The need for the variance arises from the property owner's desire to increase revenue. B, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Staff does agree with this. 4 existing non-conforming duplexes are located to the north of Ottawa Street, which is directly across the street from the subject property. The ADU would be an additional housing option for a single person. C, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will not constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. Staff disagrees. The development regulations offer several rental uses in residentially zoned neighborhoods such as bed and breakfast, residential homestays, Airbnbs, and boarding and rooming houses, all of which do require the issuance of a special use permit. Each of the stated uses have specific regulations and requirements to meet the intent of that specific use. Furthermore, the development regulations allows 2 family dwelling units in the R16 zoning district with the issuance of a special use permit as well. What I mean by that is some people have just a single family home. It's not a duplex, it's a single family home, and they have 2 rentable units in that home. Does that make sense?
Yes.
By modifying it somehow, or
I'm sorry?
by modifying it somehow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because again, they still have to meet the building codes.
Right.
So that's just the difference between the duplex and the last statement,
Okay.
where it allows 2 units in a single family. A primary difference between ADUs and two-family dwelling units is that the ADUs are accessory and subordinate to the principal dwelling unit. Of the many rental options offered in the development regulations, applicant has chose the residential homestay. D, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Staff agrees. 4 existing non-conforming duplexes are located to the north side of Ottawa Street. Staff does not believe the variance desired will adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. However, since permits were not issued for the conversion and renovations of the detached building, should the variance be granted, the applicant shall acquire all necessary permits and inspections to ensure code compliance before renting the space as a living unit. And then the last one is that the granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. The development regulations offer several different, so staff disagrees. The development regulations offer several different rental uses in residential zone areas, which I named previously. Each of the stated uses has specific regulations and requirements to meet that intent, to meet the intent of that use. ADUs are specifically intended to allow, for example, like an elderly parent or an independent living that is accessory and subordinate to the principal dwelling occupant of the property owner. And the ADU cannot be accessory or subordinate to a principal dwelling that is operating as an Airbnb.
So on E, it doesn't say here, you say staff comments. You said the staff disagrees?
Disagrees with E. Yeah, so the original intent of the ADUs, when we incorporate that into the development regulations, we were getting a lot of phone calls from people that already had like these carriage houses,
Have what?
like the carriage houses like on
Oh,
Broadway.
yeah.
And wanting to use those as like a mother-in-law quarters or something, and that is why we incorporated the ADUs into the development regulations.
To allow for that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and that is all for staff. The applicant is here and can ask or answer any questions, and staff can as well.
Does anyone have any additional questions for staff? I do.
Go ahead.
I was curious on the duplexes that are across the street.
Yeah,
Those have been there for a long
a
time.
very, very long time. I don't even know when they were constructed.
So would they have had to apply for a variance, or was that before there was any rules?
That was before. Yeah, so no variance was.
Okay.
So the ones across the street, they are existing non-conforming, they can stay the way they are. If something happens to them, if one of these duplexes or all, whatever, are destroyed by more than 50% of its fair market value, they could not be rebuilt without the issuance of a special use permit.
That's an old picture. Because don't they have a wall there?
This is 2022, is
Yeah.
the earliest, for some reason, this section, that's the most recent picture I can get.
The pictures we were seeing of the proposed property, though, are recent pictures.
Yes,
And were those taken by staff or by the owner?
so this was taken by both.
Okay.
This particular one here was taken by staff. Those were all taken by staff. These were taken by the owner here.
They're all recent pictures, though.
I don't know when he took his. When we took ours, the rear yard.
Can you zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole picture?
This?
Let's zoom out so, because they're like cut off in the middle.
Are they?
Like make it smaller, is what I mean. A little bit smaller. There. Yeah,
Is that
so that way we can see just like the whole
Is that a
picture.
little better?
That might be a little too small, but.
So when staff went by, and I apologize, I thought I had included those pictures in here. This rear area, for example, right here, this area here is where he planned on having one of the parking spots, but we had discussed that, and there's no way a vehicle can fit there without actually being in the alleyway. But it is It is overgrown, excessively overgrown.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Sir, I did have a couple of them. I just want to know if we'd received any feedback or letters from residents or neighbors, either across the street in those duplexes, or next door on either side, or across the alley behind from them.
So when we sent out the notifications, there was one neighbor that had contacted us and was just inquiring about what was going on. I'm not sure if that was a gentleman that was here or not.
They didn't give us any formal written comments to submit with.
They just called. They called Sarah and spoke with Sarah, just wanted to know what exactly, you know, and that's not surprising. A lot of people don't understand when they receive those notifications, exactly what's going on. So sometimes they will call and just ask, hey, you know, what is this?
Okay, and then additionally, somewhere in here, in the write-up on this, I believe the current owner added that he had completed some upgrades or just in the ADU. And, in the ADU. And I'm just wondering if anybody had gone out and looked at those to approve them.
No building permits were pulled.
Okay. Because, I mean, the other thing that caught my eye was I noticed that the power that was going to both buildings, though, was only noted or tabulated for the main house, for the main facility. So it would seem like if that's going to be an Airbnb, that's going to have to be separated. I mean, I realize it may not matter if a variance isn't approved, but it seemed like that would be the natural thing to do,
Yeah, and they would, and I believe we stated that,
business thing to do, excuse me.
that they will, if you guys approve this variance, and then it also goes to get the special use permit, because regardless, he's still gonna have to have a special use permit if you guys do approve the variance, that we will require him to pull the permits
Yes,
and to have inspections done.
good, thank you.
Let me ask a few questions just to make sure I understand correctly. The first variance, it is not unique, so this is common to this residential area that you have a main building and a detached unit, right?
No, so when, unique, it's not unique, there's nothing unique about the property.
Right, okay,
To require this. It's not, he doesn't have, like I said, like an alien mother that needs to live here
right.
in this ADU that, you know, he would need to assist.
Right, but there's nothing unique about the property, the way it's laid out, how it's related to other properties in the area and so forth, nothing unique.
It's a
By the
single family
layout,
home
by the
with a
footprint,
detached,
nothing.
with a storage building in the back.
Right, nothing unique by the footprint. Had he applied for the permits, would this have been addressed back then when this?
Yes.
And would it have required would this variance been requested back then, had he gotten the permits?
He wouldn't have got the permits because we would have stopped the permits from going through.
He would have stopped?
Yep.
Okay,
But we would
Because
have
he-
told him that this would be
Yes.
necessary, unless he decided that he wanted to live in it. If he wanted to live
Oh,
in the unit or in the main house, then it could just go to special use permit. But the variance specifically is that the code requires that if for an ADU, you have to live in one of the
The property
units.
owner has to live in one.
okay. All right, and then, see, the other ones you disagree with, the third one. So you say there is no hardship on the owner, right? Variance 3, there is no hardship on the owner.
No.
So the only hardship is that he desires to have the additional income, but right now the regulations stand in the way of that.
Yeah, and we cannot use financial
Right.
as,
Okay. But that's the only thing that's in the way, okay. And then in the fifth one, you disagreed with the request for variance. You say because you've listed the alternatives, he's done the Airbnb, but that is only for the main house. That does nothing to,
right, again, yeah,
Change
you
the
can't have a property like this and rent
right?
those structures out.
Okay. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
And I'll elaborate on that one a little bit too. Like she pointed out in the analysis, there are different options that you can apply for special use permits for in the zoning district. So he could apply for a special use permit for a duplex if he wanted to do the work to convert it into 2 separate units as the main house. And that does not require you to live in either one of the units. But the difference with the section of the ADU code, it's specifically intended to be accessory to the primary residence. So like we said, if you have an aging family member who still wants to maintain some independence, but it needs to be close by, that was the intent of the ADU section of the code, which is a little bit different than the duplex section of the code, for example. So there are different options that.
So if we were to say no, he does have options to go back and try to do something different with the property.
He could always apply
Duplex.
for a special use permit for a duplex, but then again, that
Duplex,
would.
they have to be side by side, or can they be separated like this?
No, this would not be a duplex, so the detached building would just have to be a storage building.
Yeah.
And then the duplex / 2 unit would be the primary
The
house.
primary house, the primary structure now, you'd have to divide into 2 and make it a
And he'd have to meet building codes doing so.
okay. Appreciate that.
So then if the variance is not approved, then the mentioned in there about veterans and homeless veterans, so then would that be through the VA?
The VASH,
Yes.
the VASH is some sort of,
I can comment.
do you want me to?
Yeah, so if the variance is denied, he would not be able to proceed forward in requesting the special use permit. So therefore, that space as the detached accessory structure could not be used as a residential unit through VASH or private renting in any way. The single-family home, he could apply for the VASH program in the single-family home if
Yes.
he wanted to do that, but I believe he intends to use it as an Airbnb still, so that's his preferred path.
How do you get a special use permit with a requirement? I mean, I guess that's not our consideration here, but how do you get a special use permit for that property if he's not going to live in it when that's a requirement for the special use permit?
That's
Well,
why.
that's what we're here, is because
you're-
he's
So
requesting a
if we grant the
variance to
variance, he
that.
doesn't have to get a special use permit.
No,
No, he does, because it's
But
still
it'll-
7 other
it'll-
condition.
But it'll knock that condition out?
Yes. Basically, it would say that that condition doesn't apply anymore. He has a variance to that condition. He'll still need the special use permit, but he'll have a variance to the requirement that he has to live in one of the units.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for staff?
No, just processing it all.
Okay. Well, I'll open up for public comment. Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of the application? Sir, if you'll step up to the microphone there and state your name and.
Name and address, please. It's on.
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I purchased the property as a
Can you state your
V.
name and your address? for
Oh,
the
I'm
record?
sorry, Carl Pekarsky.
And your personal address.
My personal address is 31516 West 217th Street, and that's in Spring Hill, Kansas, 66083 if you need the zip. I started Pi 2 REI about 5 years ago, and in the process, I, as a veteran, went to the VA and asked them, hey, is there any needs for veterans? And they said, oh, we can't get enough houses they had 35 people on their waiting list. So I redirected my focus to start getting these homeless veterans off the street. We now house, we have a sixplex in Leavenworth. We've got 5 homeless veterans in there. The Airbnb was a VA foreclosure at the time when I purchased it. We completely remodeled it, and then it's too far off the beaten path that the homeless veterans wanted to go there. However, the off structure that someone obviously had lived there before because all the utilities and everything was in it. And my son-in-law and I went in and we basically removed the old stuff and put new stuff in there. We were not aware at the time that no permits hadn't been pulled because it was obvious that someone had lived there before, whether it was legal or not. Now, we're here to make it legal and follow within the compliance of the city. And so I got a special use permit for the main structure to do the Airbnb. I used to work for the Department of Health and Human Services, and I was a compliance officer, so I believe in following regulations, their benefits to us. If this variance, the variance says I am not going to live on the property, that's what we're applying for the variance, so then we could move forward with pulling permits because obviously permits were never pulled on the property and we want to make it right. And if it passes, then we'll move to the next and we'll pull permits and we'll make it right.
So thank you for dealing with veterans. But
Sure.
this project has nothing to do with housing veterans. This project has nothing to do with housing veterans, right?
Actually, I do have I have showed it to a particular veteran who has PTSD, and he needs a single place to live, and this has its own private backyard. He has a dog, and he loved it. And Pat Tooley hasn't. I put it all to a halt when I went to planning to get a separate mailbox for it. That's when I discovered all the things that hadn't been done according to code. So that's when I put a complete halt to everything, and planning was nice enough. At first they said no, and I said, okay, well then it becomes a very nice storage unit, that's fine. And planning was nice enough to say, okay, and review their history to say, okay, we can apply for a variance, so that's why we're here today. So I don't have to live on the property because I live in Spring Hill. So in conclusion, if you approve the variance that I don't have to live there, then we move to the next step. And then we pull the permits and we make it right. Or it becomes, if it won't pass inspections, then it still becomes a storage unit.
So I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Just to make sure everything is clear, so you plan on using the main structure as an Airbnb and just the secondary structure you're wanting a variance for to house a veteran, homeless veteran?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, that's one thing I just wanted to be sure about. Okay.
Not a problem.
I don't have any further questions.
All right. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you for your
sir.
time.
Thank you. And there's nobody else here, so we'll close the public meeting. Any discussion before we get into the criteria?
Do you happen to know what is the purpose? Why the owner has to be in at least one of the 2 buildings?
I would say it's because this is considered an accessory use. So like we kind of explained, this is different than a duplex in the way that this was written into the code specifically to be accessory to the main use. And we kind of went through what are some scenarios where maybe we might support a variance on an ADU, and like one of those was, for example, if you had a parent who was in a wheelchair and you needed a variance to the square footage to make it a little bit bigger so that they could navigate in their wheelchair. Like that was something that maybe we could support, because it's still fulfilling its primary function as accessory to the main use. In
Right.
this situation, they're two totally detached uses,
Right.
essentially functioning as its own, almost like its own lot. It has its own yard, its own
Right.
everything.
But the regulation requires the owner to reside in one of the two.
Correct, yes.
What's the logic behind that?
The logic is that the ADU as a small living unit is intended to be accessory to the main building.
Okay,
We allow these, really small, almost kind of tiny home
okay,
dwelling units, but they also have access to the amenities, the main house, and a lot of times when you see these ADUs, it is a family member, a college kid, or somebody who's desiring independence, but still close enough to take advantage of the primary structure as well.
And
So who-
like she was saying, it is accessory to it. So this is just a single family home. That's what this lot is. If we start allowing
okay.
somebody to rent a single family home and then also to rent out detached garages, we're gonna have variances coming in left and right
Right, okay.
with everybody trying to rent out both.
All right. So basically, you were requiring the owner to reside on the property because you envisioned the entire property to be a family unit. Even though there were two separate buildings, you would still envision the whole suite to be, if you will, a family dwelling somehow.
Yeah, the primary use then is still single-family residential, but with an accessory living unit.
Thank you.
Anything further? All right. Well, to approve the variance, we have to find in the affirmative the 5 criteria that were listed in the report. The first one is that the variance requested arises from such condition
Can I,
which it...
can I get you to actually read the item number 1 first? Just read that out for
I'm curious about
recognition.
that. And what's the purpose of reading it out?
Just to see that you guys are aware of that stipulation and requirement.
Okay. So the stipulation requirement, the applicant must show that his property was acquired in good faith and where by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of this specific piece of property at the time of the effective date of the zoning ordinance, or where by reason of exceptional topographical conditions or other extraordinary or exceptional circumstances that the strict application of the terms of the development regulations of the city of Leavenworth, Kansas actually prohibits the use of his property in the manner similar to that of other property in the zoning district where it is located. The criteria, the first one, that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. And you either agree with that or disagree with that condition, and we'll start with Mr. Koval.
I disagree.
I disagree also.
I disagree.
Disagree.
The second criteria, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
The third requirement, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. Mr. Horvath?
I agree.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I disagree.
That the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
that the granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Disagree.
So the only way the variance could be approved is if we had agreed on all of the 5 criteria and we had disagreed on 3 of the 5. So the request for variance is denied. Is there any other business for today's meeting?
There is not, I will just let the applicant know, if you do want to appeal this, an appeal would have to go through the district court. To district court, yeah,
The district court.
to district court.
Oh, okay.
And I'll just make mention, we talked about it before the meeting officially started, but so that it's on the record, we did have one of our Board of Zoning Appeals members resign, David Ramirez, so we do have a position open on the board now. And we'll look to get that filled as soon as possible.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any motion to adjourn?
Sir, put forward a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.